There's a phenomenon on this planet where people are able to speak the eternal name that exists. And because of this, they've reached a level of education where the natural form of education, where they're able to answer all the questions that they have within themselves. And they're able to answer these questions and they help everybody around them. This has happened throughout time. So in some languages, they're called prophets. In some languages, they're called shaman. In some languages, they're called philosophers and scientists, such as Da Vinci and Aesop, you know? Because God's teachings that they gave to us cover all realms of human thought, all realms of thought. And depending on the type of person, somebody may become a philosopher after hearing God's words, teachings. Somebody may become a scientist. Somebody may become a farmer. Can become a family man. Or perhaps a religious leader or spiritual leader, or, the list goes on. But the thing is, the eternal name is something that it's very difficult to teach to somebody else once you know it, because this eternal name has existed for eternity. And just a quick explanation of eternity: the eternal consciousness that created and designed this reality and whatever else they made, before they created anything, they existed in eternity forever by themselves alone. They've had a language this whole time. They've had a name this whole time. And just so you understand how long eternity is, start right now and go forward. And that's how long they've existed by themselves. And there's a lot of understandings needed to be able to say this name. It is not a name you can speak with your mouth because it existed before human words existed. You know what I mean? It just makes sense. You can't speak the eternal name that exists, the only eternal name that exists. You cannot speak it with your mouth. The reason is very difficult to teach people, But there is an instinctive path in life that leads to being able to say this name. And you got to realize they've existed by themselves forever. Then they created us, Why do they do that? Seems like a very lonely existence to exist by yourself for eternally, You gotta ask all kinds of questions as to who this element of eternal consciousness is. Who are they? You have to ask all the questions you can think of, and then even more. And then when you answer all of these questions, you form a conscious thought. And I say you form a conscious thought because they've existed forever in eternity with nobody to talk to but themselves. So consciousness is their original language. Okay, I'll go on. And you form this conscious thought of who they are, this complete conscious thought of who they are. And by doing this, you're using their original language to speak their original name, which is the complete conscious thought of who they are. Now, to get to this level, it took me 42 years. I discovered how to say their name, the process in which how to say the name, the eternal name that exists, before I was able to speak it. Years later, it took me years after understanding the process that takes place and then reaching the level where I could speak the name with my consciousness. And it may seem dumb to say you can speak a name with your consciousness, but they've existed like that for eternity. And that's their language, And what I think is, because of this natural phenomenon of people being able to speak this eternal name, and it always ended up good, for the people around them, helping each other and stuff, because, like I said, there's many understandings in this reality that we have to gain. You observe water, you observe stone, you observe dirt, you observe plant life, you observe animal life, you observe asteroids, you observe the air, heat, cold, everything. And it's a simple process, like with stone. Get a stone, throw it, break it, smash it up. Do different things. Your mind will gain the same understanding that's always gained. And that's the same with everything our God created, And when I say God, it's a descriptive word to the one that has the eternal name. That's what God is to me, you know? It's just a description. Anyways, yeah, you gain all of their. Think of it like consciousness is their language. So when they write down things, they use their language, which is consciousness. And such as a stone, the stone has conscious understandings within it. They can also create our mind and our senses to be able to observe and understand and then know and then ask questions, and it just grows. Knowledge grows, you know? And the thing is, it's as simple as, you know, with everything. It's an instinctive process of the human mind. It's a way of gaining a natural education that our God intended for us to gain. That you could think of it as the people of the Adam and Eve times, you know, which lasts about 300,000 years, when everybody lived the tribal life. And everybody gained the instinctive education that is a simple process of observing and understanding and growing these understandings within our mind to strengthen our mind so that we can answer all sorts of questions on how, basically all sorts of questions. But you have to learn to say this name, because I don't care what religion you follow or spirituality you follow, or even if you're atheist. If you're atheist, look at it from a scientific perspective, because honestly, if you are an atheist, you only believe what you understand. And if you gain all these understandings and you ask all these questions, you will realize the one with the eternal name exists. You know? That's the path in life you're at now. Anyways, so I'm talking to everybody that exists, you know? Everybody. But think of it like this, you know? The Abraham religions, you know? They're the ones that fight a lot. Because you got the Torah, the Bible, and the Quran. And they're all descendants of Abraham, which was 6,000 years ago. And you got to realize, if you break that down to 20 years, generations, each generation is 20 years, you know? That's 300 generations of descendants. So if Abraham had 10 kids, which it was 2 to 8, I don't really know. But if Abraham had 10 kids, right? And his 10 kids had 10 kids, and their 10 kids had 10 kids, and their 10 kids had 10 kids, you know? And it continued 300 times. Then mathematically, Abraham could be descendants to everybody on this planet. He's not, but guaranteed he has at least 1 or 2 billion descendants on this planet, if not way, way, way more. You know what I mean? I said Abraham, but everybody else alive during that time, 6,000 years ago, 300 generations of descendants, could all apply to them too. And the truth is, after so many generations, all humans on this planet become the collective descendants of everybody, not just one man. They say they trace humanity back to one man. Like, oh, this was the first human and blah, blah, blah. The truth of the matter is that tribe he lived in, everybody in that tribe with an unbroken line of descendants, you know, because they're all mating, you know. All of those people are ancestors. We're ancestors to all those people. Just like in the time of Abraham, all the people of his tribe were people that they all have billions they could have billions of descendants too, you know? Or millions. That's a lot too. Because you have to account for the descendants of, you know, Abraham after so many generations mating again, you know? That happens a lot. Anyways, where's I going with this? So yeah, basically we're all collective descendants. We're all family, you know what I mean? And so I want to share with you is the eternal name that exists. And it's a path in life. I wrote these 3 books searching for it. But a little bit about myself. I am schizophrenic, disabled veteran, stuff like that. But I searched for knowledge available to our ancestors before books existed, you know what I mean? And so I search for knowledge. I go to the mountains or whatever. I go in nature. I just go in my backyard and look at the stars, you know, and I just observe the river, observe the stones, observe the plant and animal life, the dirt, everything, you know, the wind, everything, the rain, all of it, everything our designer created gives us a conscious understanding so that we can become naturally educated, you know? Anyways, I wrote this book, Simple Spiritual Shit by Joshua Jones. It's on Amazon. And this one has a lot of good stuff in it. There's equations on here. These were my first attempt these 7 equations, and this one is my last attempt. Just wrote this one recently. 7 spiritual equations. Here they are. That's basically the path in life you follow, at least all forms of knowledge.